This morning, we have very bad news. It would seem that for whatever reason, it is currently being reported Donald Trump does not have the spine to stand up for free speech and pardon Julian Assange. Perhaps the reporting is wrong. Tucker Carlson recently came out and said Donald Trump must pardon Julian Assange. I am coming out and saying the exact same thing. There are concerns among Donald Trump's supporters, not all of them, mind you, but many, that Trump will be leaving the office in an undignified way. Of course, the left already feels that way, and they've hated Trump since before he even got elected. That I get. There's a lot of things to criticize Trump for. And I'm sure the left will say, what do you mean he's leaving undignified by not pardoning Assange? He incited a riot, blah, blah, blah. Look, I'm not talking about that. I don't think Trump incited a riot, mind you. He said peacefully march, but I digress. If Trump leaves and he pardons some, white collar fraud guy, Lil Wayne and whoever else, and that's fine if he wants to pardon him, but he doesn't pardon Julian Assange, then I believe that shows the man truly has no idea what's going on and would have no spine. And I'm not trying to be mean, because I think if I was really expecting someone like Trump to see this, I would just say, do the right thing, be strong, and pardon Julian Assange. But for whatever reason, the current reports say that WikiLeaks founder Julian Assange is not expected to receive a pardon from Trump. Why? Because Trump has a problem he's had the entire time. He listens to morons. That's right. Trump's famous for being that boisterous braggart, you're fired. But for some reason, when he becomes president, he defers to other people as they burn it all down around him. Remember the thing that happened with, Tulsa? When they did that big overflow for the 1 million people who never showed up? Well, that was a mistake. And Trump did end up getting like 12 million more votes this election cycle than the previous when he first got elected, which I understand why they would do that, but they really underestimated COVID. And plus, they were encouraging people to RSVP, whether or not they were coming. They've just made so many mistakes, so many mistakes. It was reported that in January of last year, it's about a year ago now, I believe it was January, Brad Parscale told Donald Trump to sign up for Parler. And Trump asked Jared Kushner, who said, no, don't do it. What an idiot. And now where is he? Well, Trump could still sign up for Gab, but you know what? Trump doesn't care. He doesn't care. He doesn't know. He gets bad advice. Honestly, I think it may be that a lot of what Trump was doing correctly. I mean, look, to Kushner's credit, the Abraham Accords, my understanding, is largely the result of Kushner negotiating with other countries and trying to bring peace to the Middle East. I can respect that. But I think a lot of what Trump has done has been from watching Fox News and has been from, the advice of others. For whatever reason, he hired people like John Bolton, who then turns around and knifes him figuratively in the back. Donald Trump has just not made good decisions. But with Tucker Carlson coming out right now, or just the other night, I should say, and telling Donald Trump that he must pardon Assange, maybe Donald Trump will do it. Maybe. The current sourcing, I guess, reporting is that they won't, because Donald Trump has been talking to neocon national security individuals who are like, no, you can't pardon this man. Julian Assange is not an American. He didn't spy on anybody, and he didn't hack anything. WikiLeaks receives information and publishes it. You want to know what the real the real problem that the elites have with WikiLeaks is that they actually do journalism. That's it. WikiLeaks is one of the last remaining independent journalistic organizations on the planet. There are some small ones, mind you. Look, many of you might say, I'll watch, Timcast because he gives an honest assessment. Well, let's be real. What do? I read existing news for the most part. I would say only about 20% of what I do is actual journalism. Very, very, it's a small percentage. I'm not going to lie and pretend that everything I do always is hardcore journalism. But the base fact checking I do for a lot of stories, as well as, yes, I do call people and email people for quotes. If you watch my content, you probably would know that. The left doesn't want to accept that. They say, Tim just reads other people's news. Well, for the most part, that's fair. It is. Because it's only a small percentage of what I do that's actually sourcing the news and fact checking and verifying. Now, what I do when it's a derivative of existing sources like the AP or Fox is totally fine for the elites and the establishment, because my reporting is within the confines of what they view to be acceptable. There are a few things I can't say, and I've had videos deleted because of it, which is why we set up timcast.com to create a proprietary space, where we can't get banned from our own website. I mean, you can still get banned, mind you, from your hosting provider or whatever. I digress. WikiLeaks takes information from people and then publishes it. We know recently from a Project Veritas release that when some State Department cables were being released unredacted, it wasn't because of WikiLeaks. WikiLeaks didn't release it. Someone else did. And they actually called to warn the State Department. So it seems like not only is WikiLeaks just publishing information like an actual journalistic outlet, but that they actually tried to warn the State Department to prevent loss of life or harm to individuals. They don't want you to know that. Why? Right now, you've got the likes of CNN, you've got MSNBC, you've got these big tech companies, and they want you silenced. They don't want DNC emails released. You know that Donald Trump may not have even been elected were it not for WikiLeaks? WikiLeaks put out emails from the DNC that exposed corruption and probably helped Donald Trump. Now, maybe Trump would have won with or without it. But listen, Trump may have had an electoral college, big victory, but it was only 77,000 votes in 3 different states between the 3. Break it down. It was very, very slim margins in many states. But people saw these emails. And what did CNN tell you? You can't read them because it's illegal, but we can read them and we'll tell you what's in them. You see the name of the game? Julian Assange is one of the last real journalists, and he's been locked up for nearly a decade for challenging the establishment. Now, I'll pause a second, and I'll read you what Tucker said, and we'll get into some of the censorship stuff. But let me just say, I'm not even the biggest Julian Assange fan. I'm not. I've criticized him in the past. Look, famously, WikiLeaks put out something called Collateral Murder that shows a helicopter shooting at a group of people, which includes some Reuters journalists. Very, very bad. I'm glad we learned about it. But it was editorialized. They want to claim they're just leaking things, but they function much like many news organizations, selectively publishing, choosing what they write. I should say they don't write things, choosing what they report, what they send out, what gets highlighted. So I'm not criticizing them saying that they're all bad for that. I'm just saying nobody's perfect. And I'm not a radical transparency activist. I think sometimes the U.S. government needs to keep secrets for legitimate national security reasons. But I digress. Journalism must be protected. And the machine wants more and more to make sure you can't hear me. You can't go to my site. They want to ban social media outright, although I've joked about it, because they don't like the idea that the rabble out in the streets can actually research and learn information. And WikiLeaks would never be allowed to run a network or be involved in CNN. They're not going to bring on Assange. Tell us about your new report showing the U.S. military committing war crimes. They'll never happen. Well, to be fair, many networks did have Assange on when he did publish that. So I'll walk that one back a little bit. But here's a story from the Daily Mail. We'll get Tucker Carlson's comments on this. He says, Lil Wayne, some Medicare fraud from Florida. Don't degrade your voters on your way out. Tucker Carlson urges Trump to reconsider his commutations as Pamela Anderson pleads for the president to pardon free speech hero Julian Assange. They say the president is expected to, on Tuesday, issue up to 100 pardons for people, including white-collar criminals, rappers, and friends. The White House held a meeting on Sunday to finalize the list of pardons, 2 sources told CNN. Trump and his family are not believed to be on the list. Yet on the eve of the pardons, Tucker Carlson urged him not to grant the full list of rumored recipients. Among them, rapper Lil Wayne, who pleaded guilty to gun charges, and Dr. Solomon Melgen, a prominent eye doctor from Trump's hometown of Palm Beach, Florida, who is in prison after being convicted on dozens of counts of healthcare fraud. Pardoning Lil Wayne, some Medicare fraud criminal? Well, I don't know a whole lot about the Lil Wayne thing, but it's a gun charge, so I'm kind of like, maybe you should pardon the guy. I don't know exactly what he did. I think it was because he had a gun and he's a felon or something like that. But, I don't know exactly what happened. But I don't care if Trump pardons anybody. I don't care who he pardons. I don't care if he pardons the Medicare fraud guy. Fine, sure, whatever. But if he pardons them and he doesn't grant a pardon to Assange, well, then that shows you, man, maybe Trump never had any real power in the first place. Maybe he was always just sitting there and they just placated him. They pretended like he was doing something and he wasn't. There are certain things they couldn't stop him from doing, but boy, did they try to jam him up. Maybe they're not going to let him pardon Assange. Maybe, who knows? I can't believe it when I heard that the White House said they would not do it. How stupid and weak do you have to be to say no to this? Take a look at this tweet from Eric Bolling. Eric Bolling, of course, you might know, host of America This Week, ABC, NBC, CBS, and Fox, Bowling with Favre. He tweets, White House sources telling reporters WikiLeaks' Julian Assange won't get a presidential pardon. Should Assange be granted a pardon? Well, of course, I voted yes. 91.4% of Eric Bolling's audience, as it went out, said, that's 48,787 votes. Yes. He responded, I voted in favor of a pardon for Julian Assange. Okay, Donald, do you have the strength and the spine to say yes to what clearly most people want, even on the left? Not the Democrats, mind you, the establishment crony types, the never Trumpers, the establishment, those who would sit atop the ivory tower sipping their tea, pinkies out. Oh, he can't. Don't pardon Assange. That's what I imagine it's like, you know. That's my stereotype view of these people. Harumph, I say. When the regular people down there are like, yeah, we're all pretty much on board with this. Who will Trump take the back of? Will he support the people who want this to be done? Or will he cower in front of the establishment begging, please spare me? We'll see. They say early on his show, Carlson heard a plea from former Baywatch actress Pamela Anderson on behalf of WikiLeaks founder Julian Assange. He has been charged with conspiring to hack government computers and violating the Espionage Act by obtaining and releasing confidential documents in 2010 and 2011. It's freedom of the press, freedom of speech. And if we don't have that, we don't have a democracy. Well, we don't have, we have a constitutional republic that uses a democratic voting process to elect representatives. But you get the point. He needs to do the right thing. This is one of those moments in history, in his lifetime, where he can make the right decision. He would really gain a huge following and a huge sigh of relief and gratefulness for so many people on the planet. Julian is so important to free speech. He's a free speech hero. Carlson, speaking with only one full day left of the Trump presidency, also expressed his anger at what he described as the militarization of Washington, D.C. ahead of Joe Biden's inauguration on Wednesday, which, yes, it says our capital is under military occupation. It's all very, very strange. But I wonder now, does Donald Trump have the strength to stand defiant and represent the people? Or is he just going to bow out, give up, and be scared and not do what needs to be done? Julian Assange, if he pardons him, it will be historical. It will be in the history books. You know, I'm thinking about it. It's kind of funny. At least if Trump doesn't pardon Assange, the Q people will be confused for quite a bit. But I don't understand. Julian Assange is challenging the establishment elites and exposing them with these emails. Why wouldn't Trump support him? Why wouldn't Trump pardon him? It's all part of the plan, right? No, he needs to do it. I mean, actually, if he does, then it would just confirm their biases and they would believe it for sure. Glenn Greenwald tweets, the two cable personalities arguably more responsible than anyone on TV for Trump becoming the GOP nominee, by endlessly promoting him, are now demanding that Facebook be shut down, and they apparently want Biden to do it. Just listen. Okay, well, the quote is, you need to be shut down. Nobody needs what you have to offer. You have destroyed this country. I'm not completely in disagreement with that statement, though. Facebook's garbage. You know, as much as I can complain about Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube and all those other platforms, I use them. Obviously, you wouldn't be watching this if it wasn't for big tech, so there's still some benefit. But what they're doing is shaping public opinion in creepy ways to protect themselves. So I'm in favor of regulation and antitrust laws and things like that. But I do find it funny. Glenn's right. They want Facebook shut down. They don't want Julian Assange to be pardoned. It's really interesting to me. Tucker Carlson, when he was talking about Assange, said he was talking to, I think, Jimmy Dore. He said he didn't used to think that Julian should be released or pardoned, but Jimmy helped change his mind, among other things. And look at that. Tucker Carlson heard some opinions, sunlight being the best disinfectant, and realized what it meant and what was going on with Julian Assange. And then he did the right thing. And Trump supporters recognize it too. Why? Because Trump supporters aren't elitists. They're populists. They're here. They believe in helping the people, not the establishment cronies. Tucker is far from perfect, mind you. But look at the other personalities. Look at CNN. They'll lie to you. They don't want you on social media talking about this, and they sure as hell do not want one of the last remaining journalists to be able to continue working. Assange had a victory recently where he wasn't going to be extradited from the UK, but I believe they denied his bail. Donald Trump needs to do this now. If he can't stop, if he can't beat the Democrats or the establishment elites, at least he can unleash Julian Assange back onto this world to start doing some of the last remaining legitimate journalism, uncovering, stories and speaking truth to power and all that stuff journalists were supposed to do before they became woke lunatics who just post about, I don't know, you get it. Russia. It's the easy default, and complaining about gender diversity, the diversity, inclusion, and equity cult. That's what media has become. Look at the New York Times. Abolish the police. They're not even writing news anymore. They're giving us cultural think pieces. And that's fine to a certain degree. But where's the hard reporting? Where's the exposing of the criminals at the highest level? We don't see it. And I tell you this, it's been a long decade. And WikiLeaks, even with Assange locked up in that Ecuadorian embassy, was able to publish DNC emails. And boy, were they pissed. The establishment elites probably fainted in their chairs, fanning, having people, the servant run up and start fanning them with the tray. Oh, heavens. Oh, heavens, they fainted, aghast. Julian Assange published information that hurt Hillary Clinton, disrupted their plans. And for that, will Donald Trump do the right thing? I'm not entirely convinced, to be honest. Now, Glenn Greenwald talks about how, they want to purge social media. He goes on to say, meanwhile, for any of you who doubt that Dems are 100% planning the total importation of the war on terror onto U.S. soil to be used domestically, just listen to NBC's Jeremy Bash, formerly of the Obama CIA and Pentagon. Just hear the words. He said, we're going to have to reset our entire intelligence approach. We're going to have to look at the greater surveillance of them. The FBI is going to have to run confidential sources. Here we go. They are repeating the big lie. That's their big lie. They say the big lie is Donald Trump in the election. No, I'll tell you what their big lie is. That the silly absurdity at the Capitol building was an attempt to overthrow the government. Sure, I guess technically that's the truth. But are we really concerned about that? A new video emerged showing a man in a Trump hat walking up to cops screaming, call for backup. What are you doing? They're storming the building. Like, you need to stop this. They're destroying the Capitol. And the cops are just like, don't care. There you go. I wonder about all that, I wonder if the Democrats are ecstatic because now they can shut down the National Mall. I bet you know what I think it is? I think the Democrats knew no one would show up for a Biden inauguration, and it would look really, really weird. Come on. You do have COVID. I get it. But nobody wants Biden. They were voting against Trump. Well, now they have the perfect excuse to shut it all down. Shut down the National Mall. There will be no one there. And that's it. Tucker brought it up too. D.C. is under military occupation, and it's very, very weird. We have more troops in D.C. right now, armed, authorized to use lethal force, than we do in Afghanistan. I believe Afghanistan and Iraq. I'm not entirely sure. Anyway, I digress. Give me started on the war stuff. Reason writes, why purging social media of extremist speech might not make us safer. Law enforcement will have an easier time arresting and prosecuting criminals on Parler than on Telegram. I'm not super concerned about, look, if someone commits a crime and says something, you can arrest them. My concern, and why I agree with this, is that hiding, and it's the same point. Having these people go onto private networks on Telegram, masking what they're doing, means we won't know. But here's the thing. I think they want it. They want to be able to hide this from the public. That way they will have a perennial threat. Always a new network has emerged, and you'll not hear about it. They came out and said there was going to be 50 mass protests armed at all the state capitals. What happened? A small handful of Boogaloo boys showed up, and they issued some statement. There was one guy issued a statement. I respect it, saying that the people of this country are tired of the crony, politicians and all that stuff. It's true. It's true. It's true. But did anything actually happen? No, it just showed up and protested, and that's fine. It was funny. Some guy said it was an armed protest, and it's antagonizing, and it should be illegal. And I was like, armed protest is literally the First and Second Amendment. Like, what do you, right through their head, right? But anyway, look, I digress. Back to the main issue at hand. They're clamping down on free speech in every possible way. That's where this comes together. They're trying to censor and shut people down. They don't want you communicating, and they sure as hell do not want an actual threat, a real organization willing to expose secrets. They probably tried to pay off WikiLeaks. I wouldn't be surprised if they went and said, play ball and we'll invest in your company or we'll make donations. It ain't going to work. Not with someone like Assange. And you can see how they've tried to destroy the man. Dude needs to be freed. I am really scared that Trump won't do it. And if Trump doesn't do it, then I believe he will have given up a massive opportunity. I'd like to be angrier than I am now and say that it would be one of the worst moves made by a president ever. It would be, but let's be real. The past presidents are just horrific and monstrous. And at least Trump did some stuff, I guess. Tried to get out of the Middle East. If Donald Trump pardons Assange, he will truly solidify himself as a great president. And the left, the Democratic establishment elites and the never-Trumpers will do everything in their power to smear and defame him. But at least populist leftists can say, well, that was a good thing. He must do it. I hope Tucker Carlson's message got to him. I hope Trump listened. We'll see. This is the last full day. We'll see how it plays out. Next segment's coming up at 1 p.m. on this channel. Thanks for hanging out, and I will see you all then.